Alright guys, we are back. We got some more Fae content today. We're going to go ahead and do a legendary season tier list for Earth Heroes. Now, your boy actually slept quite a while today. I woke up literally 2 hours ago. It's 11:16 p.m. I woke up at like 9-something p.m. I just slept like all day. I don't even know why. So, we're just going to go ahead and do this tier list. We're going to knock this out, and then I've got some videos lined up for tomorrow that we're going to go ahead and release. So let's just start things off with the S tier for this tier list. We have Legendary Robin leading the pack. I think that goes without saying. He's probably just the best Earth Season Legendary Hero. He is accompanied, of course, by Legendary Seliph, who had the godliest remix known to man. I mean, they gave this guy every single effect that he could have ever wanted. Even Null C, which was the icing on the cake. And then we also have Legendary Nana in here as well. Very awesome player phase unit. She's able to nullify DR effects and also nullify Pavis and Aegis and like Sacred Cowl and Escutcheon and stuff like that. So it's very hard to tank this Nana when she's shutting off all sources of your DR, including the non-pierceable ones from specials. Then in the A tier, we've got Legendary Deirdre, who is still a pretty solid mage nuke. And she can also spot check a lot of mages and a lot of range units with the built-in miracle from her special. So she's really solid still. I really like this unit. We have Legendary Alm, who is still one of the best player phase options in the game. And when you get Bride Catria support or like Bride Catria or Cordelia support to get the Brave attack on him, and then he's hitting you 4 times, and he's doing bonus damage based on 25% of your defense, and he's got like Hexblade to do adaptive damage, and his special nullifies DR, and he's nullifying guard. Like, this guy just tears through some of the toughest tanks, so he's definitely a very strong player phase option. We have Legendary Claude as well. He's not quite as OP as he was when he came out, but he's still pretty good. And of course, being a flying type unit, he's got access to Guidance 4 and Soaring Guidance. So just him existing on the team is helping out your other allies so much. Like, if you've got an armored Dookie head on your team and they can't move anywhere other than one space, then this guy can definitely fix that issue. So he's very good for that. And then he can still player phase kind of decently. He's got like 80% DR. He's got null follow-up, and he's got gravity that he can inflict on the enemies. So he's still pretty nice. Then in the B tier, we have Legendary Julia, who also got a really nice remix. She's able to counterattack against dragon types, and we have 2 dragon types color share or season sharing with her. So it's not too hard for her to just actually abuse that effect and take out some of the enemy dragons that they may be having. So that is nice on her part. She also has effective damage on dragons and a guaranteed follow-up, and she's got Light and Dark 2, which is like a Omega version of a lull skill. So she aged pretty well. Then we have the Grima here. Grima literally is just Guidance 4 fodder. Like, you just put her on the team and have her use Guidance 4, and that's it. She's not really able to contribute too well outside of that. Her weapon was a distant counter refine, so she basically got the Sothis treatment. She has like all stats of 4 and inflicts guard, and that's it. That's not a refine by today's standards. That's like a passive skill by today's standards. So unfortunate for her. And then, but she's still okay. Like, you can still do the Guidance 4 thing, which is very helpful. Then we have Legendary Tiki. Maybe Tiki is actually better than Robin, I guess. Yeah, I feel a little more comfortable like this. I didn't really order these units in any particular way, but it seems kind of wrong to have Tiki behind this Robin when even though I don't like this Tiki, I have her at +10, and I rarely, if ever, enter combat with her whatsoever. Even as a save option, I just keep her far away as possible so she doesn't jump in and get blown up by one of the enemy's like crazy nuking options. So Tiki, I just tuck her away in the back and let her start a turn, give the defense and res up 6 with her C skill. Okay, then we have in C tier and D tier the 2 worst. I mean, first of all, Fa. Fa was dead on arrival. This unit was never good, and she wasn't even a good choice for a legendary hero to begin with. So I don't think anyone cared about this unit. All she was distant stance fodder, and even that's not even the best fodder anymore. We have way better distant counter skills now. So unfortunate for this Fa. At the very least, her special does do a very unique thing where she gets a pre-charged miracle and a full heal on herself. So it can be tricky to get rid of her. You can actually get rid of her, though, in one round of combat with brave attacks. If the first hit, like, takes her down to 1 HP and then the next hit would finish her off, you can actually beat her in one round of combat. But if she's able to survive, then she gets the full heal and the miracle, so at least she can do that. That is something that's kind of okay. And she does score pretty good because she has the distant counter Dragon Seal, so we have to give it up for that. But, I mean, Legendary Ike. This guy is so bad. He is just the worst. He's even worse than Fiorm. I think I might have said like Legendary Fiorm was the worst legendary hero. I take it back. Ike is the worst legendary hero, and it's not even close. At the very least, Fiorm has Ice Mirror. Like, what does this guy have? He's got nothing. What is Radiant Ragnal or Radiant Ether, whatever it's called? It does like -2 special trigger at the start of combat or at the start of the turn, and that's it. So you're just like out of luck for the rest of the fight. I mean, they wanted him to tank a hit and then have like a breath effect so he can counterattack with Radiant Ether to the face, but that's not very good. So he's all the way in the D tier. Just don't use this guy. If you got him at +10, I guess, for scoring, but like, just don't use this guy. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some builds now and see what these guys are capable of. I'm not touting that any of these builds are definitive or the best possible builds. We are also, of course, taking a look at the arena meta specifically, so these are geared more towards arena than anything else. Like, this guy's a very good user of Kanto Control, but for arena, that's not very high of a scoring option, so we're running gold border skills for the most part here. So we've got Flare on him. It gives him Sustain, which is nice because he is very well-rounded. With his weapon giving him Grand Strategy and a ton of bonuses, he is very capable of just getting to, like, insane stat levels. So having some Sustain there is very nice. He also has -1 special triggers, so once you proc the first Flare, then Special Spiral 4 is going ham on this guy. He's blowing up everything, he's getting a lot of Sustain, and it's just very good. Oath 4 to let him warp in and get the drive, attack, and speed. And then attack and speed form to raise his speed by as much as we can. So he's actually solidly fast. He's not like slow or anything. 39 doesn't look very good on paper. But the amount of bonuses he's getting from his A skill and also his weapon just puts him in a decent enough spot for speed. And he does get a guaranteed follow-up as well. So he can break Wary Fighter and then get a speed check double. So very good stuff from him. Alright, next up we have Legendary Seliph, the god of remixes. The only other remix that might be like close to this guy's was Mythic Lif. But unlike Mythic Lif, where as good as his remix was, he's still not really like a premier option to use. Like this guy, you want to use this guy whenever possible. So he's awesome now. They gave him Null C on his weapons, so he's able to deal with Veronica and like Hinoka and like all those fire sweep threats, all the staff units. He's got unconditional 80% DR against magic enemies and then 40% against everything else. So when you're able to do like stuff like that, and he's got a brave attack, and he recovers a lot of HP with every hit that he lands, he's just nuts. So this is the kit that we're going for. Alarm Attack Defense gives him Kanto 1. Distant Ferocity is... we got to run it for Arena because it's more consistent than Prime 4. But actually, Prime 4 would be better because you're getting 9 points of attack instead of 5, and then you're still getting distant counter. The speed is completely irrelevant, but we don't care. Like, 9 points of attack is better than 5 points. So, Prime 4 would be better on him, but that's more of a thing you would want to do in other modes where you can guaranteed get your support. We got Attack and Defense Form just to raise his attack and defense as high as we can. And then Ruptured Sky because he's got the Brave Attack and he can possibly just blow something up with the Ruptured Sky on the second hit. So there we go. Very solid unit, very awesome remix, and very amazing artwork. We've got Legendary Nana up next, a very good player phaser. As I said, she's able to turn off DR and also non-pierceable DR, which is pretty rare. There's not a lot of units that do that. So the enemies can't activate like godlike reflexes or negating Fang or Pavis or whatever they might have to try and like get non-pierceable DR against her. So it's a very, very powerful weapon. She also gets guaranteed Desperation and Kanto Rem from the B skill. So there's a lot of things you can do with her. You could actually even run Gale Force on her if you want, but then you'd have to run Heavy Blade. So like that's an option too if you want a Gale Force. Gale Force is very strong in Arena still. But I think this is probably the way to go. Just go like more DPS. Alarm, attack, and speed would be good for the C skill. You could just run it on her anyway just to get more attack and speed, despite her coming with Kanto Rem. Like, that's literally how good alarm, attack, speed is on these Cav units. But defense and res smoke kind of makes sense too, because after she attacks once, she can Kanto Rem away. And then she's giving herself Pathfinder, so your other units could possibly move in and take advantage of both the Pathfinder and the defense and res debuff on the enemies. So this makes sense too. I think this is not bad. And then Flared Sparrow, obvious, like just maximize DPS there. So that's our build for Nana. Okay, then we have Legendary Deirdre up next. Actually, a very, very competent unit. Is this unit better than Legendary Guinevere? I almost want to say that she is. Not like in Tome versus Tome matchups, because Guinevere was basically built to win against every other Tome unit. But I'm kind of taking the miracle effect that she has way more than the DR effects that Guinevere has. Because at least with this unit, you guaranteed live. You're guaranteed to live and then counterattack, so I see that as being a better way to go about it. Times Pulse 4 is a must-run on this unit because of the way her special works. She needs it to be pre-charged. That's one of the conditions for her to get Miracle to activate. So you absolutely, under no circumstance, are ever taking off Times Pulse 4 from this unit. Null C4 makes sense because she can spot tank like most of the mages in the game. Also, like Hinoka as well. That's in Fire Season, but like just to throw that out there. So she can counterattack basically anything. They can't get rid of her with the Miracle, and then she is most likely going to blow them up with her special. So there we go. You could also run like Magic Null Follow-Up too if you want to cut DR with her. So that could be an option as well. And then we got Attack and Res Finish. I was debating if I wanted to give her Fire Flood boost on this build, but with the Miracle effects, we're not really going to be on full HP at a lot of times, and the HP condition is pretty steep on Fire Flood boost. You got to be over 50%. So it would basically just be like a one-and-done thing for her. So I think Finish would be more consistent in the long haul, so that's why I gave that to her. Okay, and then also we have Legendary Alm. This is in the B tier, accompanied by Legendary Deirdre, who we just looked at. So this would be the build for maximizing his player phase potential. Blade Session just gives him the most attack and speed, and he needs to win a speed check to get his Fire Sweep effect from his weapon, so going as much speed as you can makes the most sense. Times Pulse 4 to allow Lunar Flash to just be insane. He nullifies Guard, but he doesn't have -1 special trigger, so this is a 2-hit special, so Times Pulse 4 would allow it to just be a 1-hit special and guaranteed to activate on the second hit at all times, so that's why we go with that. Physical Null Follow-Up because he doesn't have Null Follow-Up on his kit, so you want to have Null Follow-Up, and then you also cut DR in half on the first attack. And then the second attack with Lunar Flash just turns off DR completely. So it's still pretty valuable on him. Also, it does like speed and defense -4. And then Hexblade. Hexblade is a little tricky to guaranteed activate on him because this is not really a guarantee your Arena Core is going to even have a mage unit on it because they don't really score that good. So if you don't feel comfortable running Hexblade, you could also give him something else like Attack Speed Finish 4 or even Flash Sparrow, I think is pretty nice. And then you could ditch Times Pulse 4 for like Attack and Speed Oath 4 to get more stats. So that could also be an option too, but I have to mention Hexblade because it's a very good option for him. And then finally for the B tier, we have Legendary Claude here. So this is probably what you want to do with him. His remix is definitely something I'm waiting on because I'm sure they're going to give him a lot of good stuff. He's actually still kind of okay, like surprisingly. His weapon is not the best. It just has Null Follow-Up, -1 special trigger, and all stats of 5, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But by today's standards, that is just not enough. So he's kind of waiting on his remix, but his B skill holds up really well still. Gives him 80% DR when he initiates, and then on the enemy phase. And he also inflicts gravity on the target and the nearest foes in one space of that target. So it's pretty good, and we've mentioned this before, a lot of flying units don't even have a good B skill to run. So in some cases, we're even running pass on them so they can bypass like Warp Bubble and things like that. So Fallen Star is still pretty solid. And then of course Guidance 4 so your other units can move a lot better. So there we go for Claude. He still holds up. All right, then we move on to the, what is it, B tier? Okay, so yeah, S tier was these guys, A tier was them, and then now we're in the B tier here with Legendary Julia to start us off. Now, I took off Life and Death, or Light and Dark 2 on her. As good as it is, it's actually a really good B skill. But it's not like really what she wants to do. She wants to just blow stuff up. and it's a little counterintuitive there. It makes her more of like an enemy phaser by giving her, nullifying her penalties, nullifying enemies' bonuses, does all stats -5 on the foe, and then nullifies their adaptive damage. So it does play up really well with her counterattack. She gets close counter against dragon-type enemies. So when you combo that with Light and Dark 2, she just becomes a menace for all these dragon units to deal with. And then she's also effective against them too. But it makes more sense to just do this. Like run Special Spiral 4, Time Pulse 4, Flare. She doesn't have -1 special trigger anywhere, so we got to run both of these to maximize the consistency of Flare. And then you just blow up whoever you attack with Flare and you're good to go. So I would say this is probably the best thing that she can do. Although there's still very much a lot of merit to running Light and Dark 2 if you want to. And then you would give her like Attack and Res Oath 4, I would say, for the C skill. But without having a way to nullify DR, I think it can be tricky for her to get around certain units. So this makes the most sense to me, at least. And then we also have Attack and Res form to get some more stats there for Attack and Res. Alright, I did this right on the cuff. I put Tiki ahead of this unit, but we'll look at this unit first. Actually, we should just give her DCD. Because, like, she's just a scoring bot at this point. We don't even run her A skill. We just run Duel 4. Like, literally, she's just there to use Guidance 4 and nothing else. So, even in, like, instead of Blue Flame, just give her Ether, because it's easier to get, I guess. But not, like, if she does have to fight, Blue Flame would probably be better for her. So, I mean, this is what we got to go for with her. We can't run her A skill because her legendary skill does not raise BST, and unfortunately, her BST is not even high enough to compete, where she wouldn't need to run Duel 4 anyway. So we're going for this. We got Counter Roar, which it's okay. It gives her some DR on the first hit and then augmented damage. So that could be nice. And then Guidance 4, of course, is like the only reason to ever use this unit now. And then DCD to score as high as possible. So she can get away with it because she has Distant Counter Dragons. That does help her. So she can score that extra bit higher. But it's kind of rough using this unit now. And then we have Tiki here. Tiki is lucky that she doesn't have to run a dual skill because her BST is actually right on the cusp of where Duel 4 would score. Even though her legendary skill does not raise her BST, it's fine. So this would probably be the best thing you can do with Tiki at the moment. Now, when you have Scal 4, that really helps against the Duo Chrom matchups because he usually has a pre-charged Deadeye, and in most situations, he would just blow Tiki up in one shot with that because he's effective against armor, and then Deadeye nullifies your DR. So, Scal can really save her ass in that matchup. We have Savvy Fighter that gives her null follow-up and then 40% DR on the first hit. So, Savvy Fighter is really good on her. Vengeful Fighter 4 could also work out pretty well because that would give her Omni Breaker, and then it would also give her Special Acceleration, which is kind of the one thing we're lacking on this build. We would really love to get some Special Acceleration on hit with her so that she could make Armored Flow a little bit more consistent. Armored Flow, if you can get it pre-charged somehow, like Armored Flow would actually be really good on her. But as you can see, she doesn't have -1 special trigger, and there's not really any way to like easily get to it. So we're kind of out of luck in that regard. But you got to still give it to her anyway because it scores pretty good. I'm going to give her Distant Counter Dragon as well because, I mean, it just raises her score. Even though she already has Distant Counter. I had Defense and Res form, though. If you want to run like an actual seal on her, then Defense and Res form makes the most sense. Or like Attack and Res form or Attack and Speed form, something like that. So there you go. She can still work, but she has to watch out. Like, it's difficult for her to tank enemies that nullify DR and have effective damage on either armor or dragon types. So I've actually, in a lot of cases, I've taken off with everyone 2 to just run with everyone 1 because it doesn't give her save. So, like, that's how rough of a spot she's in right now. Like, I'd rather just not even have the save skill on her. It still scores the same amount, but I cannot afford having her get a hit from, like, Duo Chrom and things like that because she's just out of luck if they are able to attack her. So, I mean, that's just some food for thought with her. And then finally, in the C tier, we have Legendary Fa, who has... I should also give her Distant Counter. Actually, yeah, we can give her DCD, and then we can give her Scowl, because for whatever reason, I forgot that DCD is a must-run on all these armor, or all these dragons for Arena. So this is what you would probably want to do with her. It's not the worst thing in the world. She does have the Miracle on her special, which instantly pre-charges, which is pretty cool. And then we've got a lot of Scowl. We got a lot of res here from Scowl and Oath 4. And then we also turn off pre-charge specials, which is helpful. And then Counter Roar can add a bit to her damage there. So this is not the worst thing in the world. But she doesn't really offer much support to allies or anything like that. Tiki, at the very least, is still giving defense and res up 6 to allies, whereas this unit does not help allies at all. So, not really the biggest fan of this one. And then finally, this guy, he's just done, man. Don't even bother. Like, this is the best you can do with him. We have to run Duel 4 to score for Arena. Radiant Ether 2, all it does is give you -2 special trigger at the start of the turn, and then he's got -1 special trigger on his weapon, so you combo that with Pledge to get, like, acceleration on hit, and then the enemy's attack, even if they have guard, he can counterattack with a Radiant Ether, and he nullifies DR, and he gets some recovery, and then the whole cycle just starts all over again. We got Bonus Doubler as the seal, because it's, by default, already giving him attack and speed up 6 because of Pledge. But it could also give him defense and res, which would be very helpful. If you got, like, TE on the team to get defense and res, then just as many stats as you can get on this guy is very important. So, literally just all stats of 6. That's why we got Bonus Doubler on here. So, that's going to wrap us up for the Earth Season tier list. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And this is your boy Tacho signing out. So, take care, fellas. And I'll catch y'all again on the flip side.